Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, my name is Jason Davis, and I'm a member of the History Department here in the high school. And this morning I will also be your Master of Ceremonies. Today is my favorite day of the year, and it appears after a brutal winter, some spring storms, that Mother Nature is paying us back today. So please enjoy the weather. It's an absolute honor to be part of such a fulfilling event. This is truly a school-wide program, and without the tireless effort of literally everyone involved, it would never get off the ground. So I thank all of you. During the assembly this morning, we have a wonderful collection of student talent, words of wisdom, and of course, the big reason why we're all here today. 60 veterans and current service men and women representing all branches of the military. In a moment, we will commence the March of Veterans. And as always, I ask that you please hold your applause until all veterans are in place. So you guys ready to go? All right, with that said, could I have everyone please rise? Leading us off every year, Mr. Harry Adams, U.S. Navy Air Corps, 1942 to 1946. Mr. Manuel Archilla, Marines, 1987 to 1991. Mr. John Brett, U.S. Navy, 1946 to 1948. Mr. Alfred Arizona, U.S. Coast Guard, 1944 to 1946. Mr. John Chechelo, Purple Heart recipient, United States Marines, 1968 to 1970. Mr. Charles Conklin, United States Navy, 1957 to 1961. One of our own, Mr. Robert Cooper, United States Army, 1966 to 1968. Mr. Charlie Duche, United States Army, 1965 to 1968. Mr. Rodney Delasala, United States Navy, 1970 to 1973. Mr. Anthony DiStefano, United States Army, 1982 Adam McDowell, Purple Heart recipient, United States Marine Corps, 1968 to 1969. Mr. Jonathan Mazel, United States Air Force, 1968 to 1975. Mr. Ernie Basso, United States Navy, 1964 to 1967. Mr. Thomas McBride, United States Navy, 1967 to 1998. Mr. Joseph Menegas, United States Army, 1942 to 1946. Mr. Dominic Moreo, United States Army, 1966 to 1968. Mr. Hugh Murray, Purple Heart, United States Army, 1966 to 1988. Mr. Richard Myron, United States Army, 1957 to 1960. Mr. Keith Ditka, United States Navy, 1987 to 1997. Mr. Bill Nixon, United States Navy, 1967 to 1972. Mr. Larry Opel, United States Navy, 1963 to 1969. Mr. Richard Hull, United States Army, 1957 to 1962. Mr. John Wallace, Purple Heart recipient, United States Marine Corps, 1966 to 1969. Mr. David Peretta, United States Army and Marine Corps, 1990 to present. Mr. Douglas Pichel, United States Navy, 1958 to 1962. One of our own, Ms. Serena Roman, United States Army, National Guard, 2000 to 2008. Mr. John Shemansky, 2 Purple Hearts, United States Navy and Marine Corps, 1965 to 1968. Mr. Ernest Spitzer, United States Navy, 1966 to 1970. Mr. Herman Terpstra, United States Army, 1959 to 1967. Mr. Don Thatcher, United States Navy, 1950 to 1955. One of our own, Mr. Jack Trent, United States Navy, 2005 to 2018. Mr. Henry Ulrich, United States Marine Corps, 1966 to 1970. Mr. David Weipert, United States Army, 1967 to 1969. Mr. Spencer Willard, United States Navy, 1971 to 1972. Mr. Barry Welliver, United States Army, 1968 to 1969. Mr. Greg Wilson, United States Navy and Marines, 1969 to 1976. One of our own, Mr. Eugene Woznicki, United States Air Force, 1964 to 1967. Heroes, they don't wear capes. They don't leap from tall buildings in a single bound. Heroes are real. And so without further ado, we're going to ask all of you up here in front to just turn and face the crowd, please. North Warren, I present to you your heroes. Nice and loud, everyone. Huge round of applause. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors done by Blairstown American Legion, Post 258.
Fort Arm.
I'm going to lead everyone in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm proud to introduce Ms. Bella Messina. Please join us on stage. She's going to lead us in our national anthem.
Squad, present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
Squad, Fort Arm.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we
I will now lead everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance.
so gallantly
Squad, present arms.
and the rugged
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to please ask the talented Ms. Bella Messina to join us on stage to lead us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad
everyone please be seated. I would like to introduce to you the vocal talents of North Warren's high school chorus and 8th grade chorus, led by Miss Sarah Cohen. This morning, they will sing an incredible medley, one of my favorites, called A Tribute to the Armed Forces. And veterans, by now, this is the 11th year, you know the routine. Could you please stand as you hear your branch's song? And just bear with us a little moment here. I have no jokes this morning, I'm sorry. As they're breaking down the stage, I just have a shameless plug. This evening, a few of our students will be represented in the Freddie Awards. So if you're doing something, stop what you're doing. If you don't have anything else to do, tune into PBS 8 o'clock, WFMZ 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Go North Warren. I'm extremely humbled and honored to introduce our keynote speaker this morning. He has been with us from the beginning, and I'm pretty sure when he's done up here, there won't be a dry eye in the audience. Having Mr. Adams join our North Warren family each year is a reminder and justification of just why he and his generation are aptly referred to as the greatest. And just from a personal perspective, Mr. Adams, when I shake your hand and look you in your eyes and listen to you speak, I can't help but see my own grandfather, one of my heroes. Thank you. So without further ado, a huge welcome for Mr. Harry Adams.
How can one old farm boy from the Hicks be so honored? As I say always, it's an honor to be here today to share with my fellow veterans, the students and staff of North Warren School. Where's Amy Horn and Marie? Without their efforts, this program would not be possible. This is a school whose Voice of the Veteran program is a role model for all veterans. We, veterans, we salute you, the school, for your dedication. And I'd like to read to you a quote that I recently received from the Veterans Organization in Allentown that wants all veterans to be recognized. And the quote was, the greatest casualty of war is to be forgotten And that's what I will talk about today. To be forgotten, that's shown as I experience, and I'm sure my fellow veterans experience. That we've walked through different functions in our own hometowns, wearing a cap, noting the branch of the service that we served in. We were passed by hundreds of people, and not one of them stopped by to say, thank you for your service. Because if it wasn't for the service that these individuals provide, you would not have the freedom of experience like I have here today. That quote that I just gave you, it makes me, for all the years that I've been attending, so proud to be part of the Voices of America program here in North Warren. And this school will not allow that particular quote to become that character. My praise to all of you for your diligence in showing the respect for the people who have given of their time and those who have given of their life to give you the freedoms that you enjoy. As I enter into the sunset of my life at almost 94, and you into the sunrise of yours. At 94, I've seen a lot of sunrises and a lot of sunsets. Yours is just beginning. So you should be honored to be part of a school program that honors veterans in a fashion that you do. You make sure that patriotism and respect for our military, you, at the close of the war, World War II, there were 16 million veterans. As of today, there's less than 500,000 of us left. And they're dying at the rate of over 400 a day. And so at 94, as most World War II veterans, we know that we're living on borrowed time. But all we know is soon that our greatest generation will soon be gone. So I urge you to get to know one of those before there's no more here to be, because it will be gone and we won't be back. I also hope that I can enlist your help in being a role model to show others of your generation of how and why to show respect for its flag, its national anthem, and its Pledge of Allegiance. To make sure that those who served and those who paid the ultimate price and did not die in vain. I would like to read to you a poem from my generation. I think I've met, how many World War II veterans are here in the audience? I'd like to read a poem to you about my generation, the feelings that we had about our generation. And you know, we didn't know we were part of the greatest generation until Tom Brokaw told us. And the poem goes, thank God for old geezers. Geezers, that's a slang word for old guys like me. And they're easy to spot, that's for sure. At sporting events during the playing of the national anthem, old geezers hold their caps over their hearts and sing without embarrassment. They know the words and they believe in them. Old geezers remember World War II and Pearl Harbor and Guadalcanal, Normandy and Hitler. They remember the atomic age, the Korean War, the Cold War, the jet age, the moon landing, and not to mention Vietnam. If you bump into an old geezer on the sidewalk, he'll apologize. A lost art. If you pass an old geezer on the street, he'll nod or tip his cap to a lady. Geezers are trust strangers and are courtly to women. Young fellows, remember that out there, courtly to women. Old geezers hold the door for the next person, and they're always, when walking, make certain that the lady is on the inside. I'll just inject here. That when I go somewhere into a building and I see someone behind me, I hold the door open for them. And they'll say, "Well, thank you, sir." I said, "No, don't thank me. Thank my mother. My mother taught me good manners." Good manners. Remember, when you hold the door for someone behind you, that's good manners. Old geezers get embarrassed if someone curses in front of women and children. And we don't like the filth that we see on TV. Old geezers have moral courage. They seldom brag unless it's about their grandchildren. Like me, just 11. With one great-granddaughter. I brag about them all the time, and so proud to be part of it. It's the old geezers who know our country is protected, not by politicians or police, but by the young men and women in the military serving their country. This country needs old geezers with their decent values. We need them now more than ever. So get to know one, because in the near future, they'll all be gone. The theme of today's program is Memorial Day. It was originally called Decoration Day. It's a day of remembrance for those who died in their nation's service. However, as these gentlemen will testify, the basic reason has been lost. It's now Memorial Day sales, 3-day weekends, day off from school, and backyard picnics. It's now about a clam bacon beer. It's not about me as a veteran. It's about those who gave their lives in defense of their country. It's a day to honor those who stood and fought and died for the flag for which it stands for, our freedoms and our rights. We would not be free if not for the people who felt it was their duty to stand up for their country. This Memorial Day, I ask you, take time to remember the 10,000 men, 10,000 young men, average age 19, who died on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. 10,000 young men, average age 19, gave their lives on the beach of Normandy on D-Day. The thousands of men that died on the islands in the Pacific. We think about it, and I think about, and I'll talk about the flag. I served in the Pacific on an aircraft carrier. But those islands were secured by young Marines, average age of 19, who took the Pacific Islands for the impending invasion of Japan. And those who were buried at sea never to come home. You know, when you're 18, 19 years old, You shouldn't see men die. Remember, they never came home. Their parents never had closure. A little known fact, important to me, maybe not to you, but primarily in the Pacific Ocean, there are 52 submarines that were lost. 374 officers and 3,100 enlistment. They rest in those coffins in the bottom of the Pacific, never to come home. Those who were married, not to their wives, and those of us who were single, back to the family. Remember one thing, they gave up their tomorrows so that you could have your todays. They could never become a husband or a father or a grandfather. That's what they did. I know the numbers will not be remembered. They might not be relevant to you, but I think it's just worthy to know that in World War II, 405, 399 gave their lives for the freedoms that you enjoy. And those who followed, you know, when I left my aircraft carrier in the Pacific in December of 1945, I thought, oh, thank God, no more wars. 5 years later, that same ship served in Korea, where 36,000 plus young men gave their lives. And in Vietnam, 58,200. Remember, those are not just numbers. They're men who gave up their families. What's important to me, and should be to you, is respect that's shown for the things that have made us free in this country. Our national anthem, our flag, etc. So I'd like to read to you an article that I read in the paper some years back about our national anthem. And in high school, I know how important going to a football game is, or any other sporting event. And I know how we go to root for our team. But one thing bothers me, and I'm sure it bothers each and every here. And this is the article written by a reporter from an Allentown paper. From football to baseball, field to field hockey, I get a chance to watch some terrific teenagers compete in a bunch of contests. They aren't doing it so, by and large, for nothing more than the love of the game. However, something has been bothering me of late, and has nothing to do with the love of the game, but the love and respect for our country. At a recent area high school football game, the public address announcer, as many public address announcers do throughout the Lehigh Valley, asked the crowd to rise for the playing of the national anthem. What wasn't stated, and maybe it needs to be, is that standing at attention during the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner means just that. Standing still, hats removed from your heads, hands over your heart, and without engaging in conversation with the person next to you. Increasing numbers at high school sporting events through the area, I see teenagers and some younger children milling about, adamantly talking during the time period. I see adults in the stand talking to each other and failing to remove their hats. What I don't see, especially where younger children are concerned, is someone attempting to correct problem. And that's what concerns me. Though I've not put a stopwatch on it, I can imagine that playing our national anthem consumes more than 90 seconds, if that much. Is it asking too much that for 90 seconds we show some respect for our country, regardless of our feelings about the current state of affairs in the world? Men and women who are fighting and have fought so we can enjoy the freedom that we have. I suppose I'm most disappointed in the adults. We're supposed to know better. We're supposed to be the ones who teach our children right from wrong. Yet the adults who do come to the attention during the national anthem apparently do little to correct the oversight of your children. Sure, it's easy to say, what's the big deal? No harm, no foul, right? Especially, that is wrong. Bad habits are formed just as easily and made easier than good habits. Now it is the time when children are still children to instill in them the pride of their country. Because then, all we ask is to take 90 seconds to do that. In America, we're very fortunate. But it's a shame that we sometimes take freedom for granted. That's the same freedom that enables us to enjoy sporting exploits of these talented athletes. So next time you're at a high school sporting event, let's remember that 90 seconds of attention is a small price to pay in appreciation of the lives who are free. You know better than I do. You go to more sporting events now than I do. You know, the next segment of that was about your flag. From Dolly Madison in Philadelphia, who put the flag out of her window. And I remember from school, I know it's hard to believe that, yeah, that's many years ago, that we were taught about the flag and Betsy Ross. And one story I still remember from my one-room country school teacher, when she said, the day that the British took over Philadelphia, and a squadron of men were walking down the street, and Betsy Ross hung her flag out the window. And the soldiers that were under his command raised their rifles to take away her life. But a quote that I will never forget from 1940. The quote from that British officer was, "Who touches a hair on yon gray head dies like a dog. March on," he said. So even though he was an enemy, he saw to it that our flag was respected. And probably most of you have never heard this poem. But I've heard it, and I read it, and I think about it. So I bear your indulgence while I read that ragged old flag. As I walked through a country courthouse square, on a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, "Your old courthouse looks kind of run down." He said, "It'll do okay for our town." I said, "Your old flagpole is leaning a bit. And that ragged old flag that you got hanging on." And he said, "Have a seat." And I sat down. And he said, "Is this the first time you've been in our little town?" Well, I said, "Yeah." "Well, I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that old ragged flag. You see, we got a little hole in it, in that flag, when Washington went across the Revolutionary War. And it got powder burns the night Francis Scott Key said, Washington, "Oh, say, can you see?" And it got a hard rap in New Orleans when Parkington and Jackson took it to the square. And it almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on through. She got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville. She got it cut again at Charlottesville, or Civil War. On Flanders Field in World War I, she got a big hole from Berthold's gun. She turned blood red in World War II, and she hung limp a time or two. She was in Korea and Vietnam, and she went from our ships upon the briny foam. Now they've all quit waving here back at home. It's good land, but she's been abused. She's been burned, dishonored, denied, and refused. And the government for which she stands has been scandalized throughout the land. She's getting threadbare and she's wearing thin, but she's in good shape, the shape she's in. Because she's been through the fire before, I believe she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, we take her down every night. We don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her up. Right. On second thought, I do like to brag, because I'm mighty proud. Look by her old flag. As I come to the conclusion of my presentation, I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today, and your kind attention for what I had to say. Just a few parting thoughts. It starts here with you. You. Only you can show the way to those who have served, and those who are still serving to know the supreme sacrifice for your freedoms. These people have not died in vain. All we ask of your generation is that you show respect for what they served for and died. Your flag, your Pledge of Allegiance, and your national anthem. And if you want to really show your appreciation, whenever you're out and see an old geezer wearing a cap, noting that they were a vet or someone in uniform, go up to them and say to them, thank you for your service. For them, it will be blessings. And for you, it will show character. Please remember one thing. A veteran is someone who at one point of his life wrote a blank check payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and including his life. That is honored. And there are too many people in this country who no longer understand the price that has been. So I close with this poem that I'd like to dedicate to all veterans that have died for the symbol that it represents. He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast. And he sat around the Legion telling stories of the past, of the war that he once fought in and the deeds that he had done. In his exploits with his buddies, they were heroes, everyone. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his buddies listened quietly, for they knew of what he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, for old Bob has passed away. And the world's a little poorer for a veteran who died today. He won't be mourned by many, just his children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary, very quiet sort of life. He held a job and raised a family, going quietly on his way. And the world won't know his passing, though a veteran died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while those thousands note their passing and proclaim that they were great. Papers tell their life stories from the time that they were young, but the passing of a veteran goes unnoticed and unsung. It's the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land for some jerk who breaks his promise and cons his fellow man. Or the ordinary fellow who in times of war and strife goes off to serve his country and offers up his life. Politicians and their stipend and the style in which he lives are often disappropriate to the service that he gives. While the ordinary veteran who offered up his all is paid off with a medal and perhaps a pension. It's so easy to forget them, for it is so many times that our Bobs and Jims and Johnnies went to battle. But we know it's not the politicians with their compromised employees who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you really want someone to cop out with his ever-walking hand? Or would you want a soldier, his home, his country, his kin, just a common soldier who would fight for you to the end? He was just a common soldier, and his ranks were growing thin. But his presence should remind us that we might need them again. For when countries are in conflict, we find the soldier's part is to clean up the troubles that most politicians start. If we cannot do him honor while he's here to hear the praise, then at least let's give him homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps just a simple headline in the paper that might say, "Our country is in mourning for a veteran who died today." Thank you for your attention.
He won't tell you, but he's one of a kind, that's for sure. I really believe that one of the keys to the success of this program is our student-driven entertainment. The incredibly talented Andy Baldwin will perform an original called Ballad of the Heart. It's pretty emotional, and Lauren Aldridge's Never Enough. Ladies and gentlemen, our very own Andy Baldwin.
Good morning, North Warren. So this song is an original of mine. I'd like to dedicate it to our veterans who are here today, for anybody who's ever lost family members fighting, and I'd also like to dedicate it as a personal tribute to a very close family friend of ours named Tony Egan. Tony was like a second father to me, and he was a Marine, and he recently passed away to cancer. So I'd just like to dedicate this to our country, our veterans, and Tony.
Sorry, I'm not left speechless very often. I don't know if there's words to describe that. I just know goosebumps running up and down my back. Incredible. It's beautiful, Andy. So next, I have had the pleasure to watch this young man grow up over the years, and trust me when I say he's always been big. Ryan volunteered for us a few years back, and the way he did that, he just said, Mr. Davis, I just want to be part of the program. I'll do anything. And Ryan is just a great example of how our program keeps finding these incredible kids. And today, Ryan is part of the crew, and I would be honored to introduce Mr. Ryan Derling up to the stage.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan Derling. I've been participating in the Voice of the Veterans program for 4 years now, and I must say, it is going to be hard to say goodbye after today. These last 4 years of my high school career, there's been one thing that I look forward to every year, and it's this program today. And coming here and seeing the joy and the smiles on the faces of all these heroes in front of me today. These men and women serve their country with honor, pride, and loyalty. We as citizens borrowed a piece of their life and their time when they joined the service. These heroes in front of us risked it all to keep us safe here at home while they were away from theirs. Every citizen of this country owes these veterans. We owe them a smile, a thank you, and our time. When I was first introduced to this program, I chose to look at it from a different perspective. I have family in the service and don't get to see them very often, so I'll use this program as a way to connect to them, even if it's through somebody else. I choose to do this program every year as a way to repay the time that these service men and women loaned us. When they signed up for the armed forces, they sacrificed time from their family and life and put everything on hold to protect ours. If there's one thing this program has taught me, it's appreciation for those who dedicated a part of their lifetime protecting mine. Last year, I had the pleasure of listening to Mr. Harry Adams in a classroom speak. And I must say, he really opened my eyes about the subject of appreciation. There's a lack of appreciation for the men and women who gave so much to keep us safe. Today, I would like to ask every student who is here listening to me today to make an effort. When you see a veteran outside of school, whether it be on the store or at the store or on the street, stop and thank them, because nothing feels better than knowing your sacrifices did not go unnoticed. Once again, this program has been such a big part of my life for the last few years, and there's nothing more meaningful to me than doing what I can to repay the heroes in front of me today. Thank you, all of you, for your years of service, because without it, the world we know today would not be the same. Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Davis and Mr. Bill Nixon up to the stage.
Okay, Mr. Nixon has been integral to this program for many years, and one of our favorite parts of this program, Ryan is going to hand to Mr. Nixon a check and of our gratitude, and he uses it very wisely for a Veterans Rally Point. So I'm going to hand over the mic to Mr. Nixon.
Good morning, everyone. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here at North Warren Regional School for your Voices of Veterans program. I cannot even believe that you said it's 11 years. I was trying to recall. I thought it was 9, and you said 11 today. Like, whoa. I want to thank all the members of the Voices of the Veterans Planning Team and the staff and the students of North Warren Regional School for planning and presenting this excellent program for 11 years. On behalf of the Phillipsburg area veterans and the Veterans Rally Point team, I would like to thank the community of North Warren Regional for your generous donation. Your act of kindness is deeply appreciated. Please know that all of your contributions will go toward the operation, maintenance, and use of the Veterans Rally Point, located in the Wapakong Municipal Park. I can also tell you that this year we will be presenting 6 scholarships to seniors who are graduating from our area, people just like this young man right here, who stuck with it for 4 years. So we're going to thank them with a scholarship, and this will be very helpful. Our rally point is a place for people to come together. It's a military term. It's used in combat. When our soldiers complete a task, they are reminded to return to a safe place, a rally point. We constantly encourage our veterans and their families to visit the site and take advantage of the honor and the sacred ground that our Veterans Rally Point and Memorial represent. Our Memorial Day candlelight ceremony will take place at the Veterans Rally Point this coming Saturday evening at 8 p.m. We will be landing an Army Black Hawk helicopter at the site of the rally point at 7 p.m. All of you are welcome to attend. Just bring a chair. These are some pictures of some of the activities that go on in our rally point. I had a very kind of neat thing happen this morning when I was introduced to my battle buddy, my escort. Her father, her family, did all of the concrete work at our Veterans Rally Point, Mr. Ritchie and his business. So my battle buddy is Tori, and so we had some things in common right away. So I showed her some pictures of her father's work. This is a fantastic place for people to come together, and your contributions help us maintain this. Flags, property, management, flowers, bringing people together, and entertainment. So for this, I thank you very much. Now I'd like to move on. This morning, we're going to present a flag to your school. And in doing so, I would like to ask Mr. Bob Cooper and Mr. Andrew Kennedy to please come up here with me. These gentlemen are both Army veterans and are on your staff here at North Warren. Mr. Cooper served in Germany, 1966 to 1968, and Mr. Kennedy served in Iraq, 2005 to 2012. Do you recognize this flag? I'm very happy to hear that. Many places I go, I have silence. You drive, ride, or walk by it every day. It flies on a flagpole at the entrance to your school. This is the POW MIA flag. POW, prisoner of war, MIA, missing in action. I ask you to take a moment and reflect upon what this flag symbolizes. The profile of the prisoner shows his head bent in prayerful sorrow, not in defeat. He faces to his right towards his homeland, America, with continuing faith that he has not been forgotten. He waits, enduring the indignity of captivity, yearning for the day when the freedom for which he fought will be returned to him. In the background, a guard watches the prisoner, distant and apart from the POW, both in body and spirit. Barbed wire separates them, just as the love of freedom separates us from those who deny freedom to others. A partial laurel wreath is formed under the POW, a universal symbol for the peace for which all strive. The words, "You are not forgotten," tell the great concern that all of us share for those men and women. The words apply to each and every POW in MIA, reminding us that we cannot allow any government, group, or person to stop us from seeking their return. The star between the letters POW and MIA symbolizes a star of hope. Hope that all of our POWs and MIAs are accounted for and returned home. And finally, this POW MIA flag flies directly beneath our country's colors, in the true and unwavering belief that the symbol of our nation still waves in the hearts of our POWs and MIAs. The POW MIA flag stands with the national symbol, awaiting the day when it will be lowered for the last time, when the fullest possible accounting is achieved and our POWs and MIAs, alive or dead, come home. We can never forget them. This flag is meant to serve as a reminder to each of us every time you see it displayed. There have been a lot of sacrifices, as Mr. Adams alluded to, made so that we can be here today, celebrating and honoring those who served and are presently serving our great nation. Let this be a visible reminder to all of us in our little Warren County, New Jersey. I would like to ask, please do this respectfully and quietly, or Mrs. Horn will never ask me back. I would like to ask everyone sitting in this section, this entire section, to please stand quietly, if you can, right now. Please stand. Thank you very much. Please remain standing. We, in Little Warren County, New Jersey, have lost 293 veterans, either killed in action or missing in action. Those of you standing represent that number. I personally came here during the Jazz Festival and counted these seats. You represent how many people have given their lives by serving our country in our county. Take a look. Those of you over here, take a look. They left their home one day, just as everyone sitting here in the front rows right here are veterans to serve our country. They never came home. We can never forget them. Just think about the profound effect the loss of life has had on their entire family. Thank you very much. You may be seated. On behalf of the Phillipsburg area veterans and the Lehigh Valley Fleet Reserve Association Black Diamond 115, all Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard veterans, we proudly present this POW MIA flag to North Warren Regional High School for display on your front entrance flagpole. Mr. Cooper, Mr. Kennedy, I want to thank you for your service. Please accept this flag for your school and fly it with honor. Thank you very much.
In keeping with Mr. Adams' speech this morning, we have a very simple veteran tribute. I want to thank Mr. Dorche for helping me with this bio. This past December, we lost one of our North Warren Voice of Veteran family members, Mr. Marty Fleischer. Marty passed away on December 10th, 2017 at the age of 97. Marty was born in Newark, New Jersey in the year 1920. He was a father, a husband, and a grandfather who resided in Washington Township for over 50 years. This past year, he was chosen as Washington Township's Senior Citizen of 2017. Marty was extremely active with veterans events almost up to the time of his passing. And Marty's remains will be buried in Arlington National Cemetery. During World War II, Marty was a lieutenant in the Army Air Corps and flew 65 combat missions, mostly over France and Germany. His airplane was affectionately known as the Mama Liz. The only time that Marty was not in his plane, it was actually shot down. But thankfully, the entire crew made it back to England unharmed. Marty was awarded 10 air medals for his actions during his time of service. After World War II, Marty went on to the civilian world and became a successful businessman. During his retirement years, he was very active with various different organizations, and in particular, Washington Township Veterans Association 1776. Marty also taught as a Tai Chi instructor for senior citizens. Marty truly loved education, and despite the age gap, he could always relate to students of the many schools he visited, including ours. Always try your best. He wasn't the best student, but he always tried his best. And a great example of that is he always wanted to be an aviator, but he had difficulties at first, so he joined the flight crew, and he never gave up. And finally was accepted to flight school and received his wings. He has touched all who he has met, and those who knew him best know that he is his wings in the sky. At this moment, we're going to hand over the stage to another talented group. We're going to have Ms. Christina Kehoe, Mr. John Pacnos, and Ms. Sarah Kohei. They're going to perform Christina Perri's song, 1,000 Years. And Tina approached me a few weeks ago in the planning session, and she would love that everyone knew that she's going to dedicate this performance to Mr. Marty Fleischer. Thank you. Tina just told me this morning that it was actually the Voices of Veterans program a few years ago. It was her first time playing in front of a crowd. She's got nerves of steel. Now, when you've been here as long as I have, a lot of gray in the beard, but you have a chance to teach entire families, siblings. And as we all know, if you have a family, each are very unique and special in their own way. I've had the pleasure of having all the Keyhoes in the classroom now. I remember Brian, and if you take a walk out to take a look at the North Warren family veterans pictures, his proud Navy picture is out there. Brian had a dry sense of humor, he really enjoyed history, and always had a big smile on his face. And Tina, as you just heard, musically talented, awesome. And then Brianna, the middle child. I just want to say that I'm very proud of her and the decision she has made for her future. And she just reminds me of how talented and driven a young person can be. And obviously kudos to Mama and Papa Kehoe. You guys have done something right. Thank you. So without further ado, I introduce to you Ms. Brianna Kehoe.
Hi, I'm Brianna Kehoe. I'm in North Warren's graduating class of 2018. So last June, I signed my contract as a nuclear operator in the United States Navy. Nuclear operators are the people who operate and maintain the pressurized water nuclear propulsion systems in aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines to power and propel the ship forward. Did you get all that? Okay. So basically, nuclear operators power the submarines and carriers. I leave July 25th to begin my journey as a sailor in Great Lakes, Illinois. After I graduate boot camp, I'll be shipped to South Carolina where I'll begin my training to be a nuke. During my time in the delayed entry program, I learned a lot about the Navy. We have 3 core values: honor, courage, and commitment. When I think about the program that we put on today, I think of honoring those who had the courage to commit to something greater than themselves. We must apply these values to our jobs and our lives every day. These men and women right here put so much on the line for a country that has given us so much. Every day, they apply these core values and still hold true to them. A big influence on my decision to join was my brother, Brian. He enlisted into the Navy as a nuclear operator 4 years ago this August. He is one of the most brilliant people I know, and I look up to him a lot. When he joined, I got a closer look into the military lifestyle and saw how men and women work so hard every day for this country, and I wanted to be a part of that. I love the ocean, and I love big ships and traveling the world, so I talked to a Navy recruiter, took my ASVAB, and was told that I qualified to be a nuke, so that's where I am now. Another person who helped me a lot in getting this far is Mr. Ihan. Even though he has never served, he has a passion for this country that opened my eyes to the freedoms that we have. He has been my physics teacher for 2 years now, and he has taught me so much about what it means to be patriotic. He was born in Turkey, and the pride that he takes in being an American citizen motivates me every day. He always reminds us how great of a country we live in. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have scored so well in the ASVAB either. His love for America is as strong as his accent. My parents and my sisters are another huge part of my decision. My parents provide so much support for me and always push me to be the best that I can be. They're here right now. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. They have been here every step of the way to back me up. I want to be a part of protecting my family and ensuring that my sisters will have a safe place to grow up and further their educations. So today, even though it's not Veterans Day or it's not Memorial Day yet, thank a veteran for this country. Thank them for your freedoms and your safety. Thank our heroes for their time and effort that they put on the line every day for the people of this country and all of our freedoms. Thank you.
how we get better and better every year, but we do it, and it's because of kids like this. In closing, this program helps define us at North Warren. It is an event to be proud of. Every year we're able to come together as a school and provide an invaluable experience to our veterans, but also to our students, staff, administration, and of course, our community. It says a lot about who we are. We are family. To our veterans and current service members, I hope today is special to all of you. And finally, to our students and our children, please take this opportunity to embrace our oral history. It was the stories from my own personal hero, my papa, that got me hooked on history. History should be told with passion. So North Warren this afternoon, and I say this every year, but I'm seeing more and more cell phones. When you're back in the classrooms, put your phones away. All right, give Snapchat a break. Okay, tweet one more time, I get it. All right, and just listen, because today is when history comes alive.
They gave me votes on a weight, but no. I don't. These guys years ago, when we had our house in North Plainfield, they bought me a floaty for the pool. I got seasick on the floaty.
Really? I remember.
Swear to God.
You're not kidding about it.
Oh no. And yet I'm a pilot. I can fly. Put me in an airplane, I'm the happiest kid in the planet. Put me in a boat, I gotta even put a bullet in my head. There's people here. What are the chances of having two air traffic controllers in the same room?
Are you both air traffic controllers? No kidding. Oh, that's so weird.
Pretty cool, right?
Well, so this is my brother, Bob.
Hello.
And Mr.
John.
Mazel?
No, John, please.
Okay, John.
Mr. Mazel is my dad, he's dead.
Good. Do you want this? Get the chair. I know my brother does pretty money for this year, so.
Prepared now.
You
asked me to get me on the I'm old, I'm not that. So you guys want the old perspective or the young perspective? So I think that's better looking. So I guess I'll do the old part. You do the new part.
Go for it.
Because you can't do the old part.
I really don't have many stories, but.
No, I have stories, but I don't tell them.
You gotta be careful though.
No, I don't. I tell.
I might have to.
Oh, okay. So my name is John Mazel. I served in the United States Air Force for 6.5 years, from 1968 to 75. I did a tour in Vietnam. It wasn't exactly a vacation tour, but it was fun. Partied a little bit, not too much. But you guys have heard all about wars and all that kind of stuff. Do you mind if we talk about something else? Because war is really horrible to talk about. The speaker hit on something that I think is a very timely topic. I'm curious how you guys feel about the flag issue and the national anthem issue. Have all of you heard about the recent NFL ruling? You're all aware of it?
Yep.
I'd be curious to get some feedback, how you feel about that. Because the speaker said something that bothered me. I know he's a World War II guy, but that's a generation that you guys don't have any connection to. My father was a World War II guy, and we barely had connection to it. So I'm more curious about things that affect you today than what we did 50 years ago. So I'm curious, can I pick on you? Do you mind? What do you think about that issue? Because it's very timely, and I think it's important.
Well, like if you want to stand for the pledge, like that?
Well, what the issue apparently is the quarterback for San Francisco, Kaepernick? The guy with the hair. He took a knee during the national anthem. And the speaker alluded to patriotism. and that by not standing and respecting the Star-Spangled Banner, somehow it made you, in my opinion, he alluded to the fact that somehow or another not standing, not showing that level of respect, if you will, somehow made you less of a patriot. How do you feel about that?
I don't know, I just feel like if someone's fighting for us, we can at least stand, you know. If they're working hard for us, we should at least give them that.
Okay. Anybody have a different opinion? Or everybody pretty well agree to that? And it's funny you say that because I don't agree with it. I'm going to tell you why. I served 6.5 years in the military. I fought for something to me that's more important than whether I stand for the flag or I stand or I kneel. I'm not showing disrespect by kneeling. People go into houses of worship every day and kneel in homage to their deity. Why does it make a person less a patriot if you kneel? Isn't kneeling a sign of respect? At the same time being interpreted as confronting an issue? But I fought for the right of people to enjoy the liberties, and one of the liberties that we fight for is the First Amendment. People will yell and scream about the Second Amendment, gee, I want to carry a gun. How about we talk about the First Amendment, which is your right to freedom of speech and expression, period. Is that not what that flag stands for? The right of every citizen of this country to express his or her displeasure by peaceful disobedience, if I remember how it was phrased. Peaceful disobedience. What do you think? Interesting counterpoint? You still think, I mean, look, I stand when the flag goes by. I stand, I cover my heart in honor and respect. But it's also from a different point of view that I fought for the right of you and all people in this room to speak out if they didn't like what was going on. And I'm curious how other people think about that. The NFL rule, if I know it correctly, was that if you don't want to honor the flag and the Star-Spangled Banner in traditional, you could stay in the locker room. Don't come out. Isn't that hiding the issue? So I'm the quarterback of an NFL team, and I decide I want to hide in the locker room. You're telling me the whole world's not going to notice? Oh, he's not here. I wonder where he is. You think he's in the locker room? And all of a sudden the news media is just going to blow up that so-and-so, quarterback for the so-and-so team, was in the locker room. Isn't that just as loud an expression as kneeling on the sidelines? Somebody's got to have an opinion. Come on, guys, I'm not going to bite you. Huh? I might.
So, living in Germany wasn't all bad. But you had this concern and this mission you had to do. The other thing that happened every Monday is they had command reveille. So our whole battalion, which was supposed to have 1,500 people on, all men at the time, would get out on the quadrangle, like the little football field, and organize. Each company would say, all present are accounted for, blah, blah, blah. And then the colonel would get up and he'd start reading out names. And everybody whose name he read out fell out and went to headquarters because they were being shipped to Vietnam. So in my 2 years in Germany, our battalion went from 1,500 people down to about 650. So it was a skeletal crew there. And, so that was a nervous Monday morning. You didn't know what was going to happen every Monday. And a lot of the replacements that we got were coming out of Vietnam. So they were hardened veterans. They knew what they were doing. So that was my basically what I did in the military. And the day I landed in Germany in 1967 was the day that the 6-Day War started in the Mideast. And that was a conflict between the Israelis
bugs didn't bite you in Vietnam, they pick you up and took you away for later. That's how big they were. There was lizards, there was all kinds of snakes, all kinds of crazy things. But, you know, we all got through it, and we got through it because of teamwork. Everybody always helped each other, assisted each other. We never left anybody behind. We always took care of what we had to do. And that's the same, I think, holds true of any military. Anybody, I don't want to just talk, I want you to try to, do you have any questions? Anybody? We gotta have questions. No questions? I can't talk for 40 minutes. About where we, go ahead, ask yours. Yeah, don't be afraid. I've heard everything, so raise your hand.
Would you recommend the military for them or anybody?
You know what? That's a really excellent question. Again, we somewhat got rid of the draft. You still had to register, but if you were a senior and you really had no direction in life, the military was the way to go, in all honesty. That's why you got your training in the military, and everybody always associates the military with war. For every person that's in combat, there's 18 people that support that person. Right now, I know in the Army, because we have a good friend that's a lieutenant colonel in the Army, they're not interested in infantry or even what I did, Tower. They're interested in people that are computer literate, cyber attack type of things, different like they need education. In fact, some of the jobs that are in the Army now, you have to have a college degree even to get. So hence a lot of West Point graduates get those jobs and different things like that. So I would say if you really didn't have a direction, you get excellent training. The radio and the tower system that I worked on when I was in Southeast Asia, when I come back, I was stationed in San Rafael Desert in Utah, and I got my job in civilian life directly as a result of my training in the military. I saw an ad in the Army Times, and the Army Times wanted a person that took care of this. And when I say a radio, you're used to your radios in your phones now. The Army radio is about this high and about this wide. It was fixed station, and actually the radio was kind of a top secret installation. It had LBJ's hotline and Westmoreland's hotline, so it was a very critical thing. The towers that I used to put up was the same towers AT&T were putting up. So when I went, I actually got in a 2.5-ton truck in my Army fatigues when I was a sergeant. I drove up to Salt Lake City. I drove in a parking lot. I think they thought they were getting invaded. I went in, and this rather sarcastic young man said, "What do you want?" And I said, I knew I was going to get out of the service. I wanted to apply for a job. And they said, "Well, you know, if I contacted another man, came down very dressed in a suit with a bow tie, I'll never forget, his name is Mr. Fuchs. And he said to me, 'Kid, if you can align the radio and you can tell me about the tower, AT&T will give you a job.' So I went up to the radio room. The radio that was there was the exact radio that I did overseas, and the tower was one I had just put up 5 months ago. So he said, 'I'll give you a job.' I didn't even have to take a test. So it led to my 30-year career with AT&T. So it all depends. Again, we're in a different time frame, I think if you really have no direction, but you have an idea, any branch of the military is good to get there. Plus, I got my education. I completed my education with what they call the GI Bill, government issue. The Army paid for me to get my college degree. So there's, you know, it all really depends on what you want.
We're manning our battle stations, waiting for the next attack from Japanese planes. We were subjected to sporadic and uncoordinated attacks by pilots who would not surrender. Some ship captains had some difficulty with the situation. On the one hand, there were the Japanese who were negotiating peace. And on the other, there were the fanatics who refused to quit. Pilots, theoretically no longer the enemy, coming out to attack our ships. What do? What What do you do in a situation like that? The situation was resolved when Admiral Halsey issued an order to the ships under his command. Quote, should any Japanese plane approach our ships, shoot them down, but in a friendly manner. And that's the way it was. My ship, USS Cushing, was not the first, nor we among the first group of ships to enter Tokyo Bay. We were ordered to remain on patrol between the islands of Oshima and Honshu to prevent any unauthorized troop movement. When on September 1st, 1945, we entered Sagami-Mon, the lower harbor to Tokyo Bay, we did it alone. All the other ships of the Third Fleet were lying at anchor or moored to their buoys, and it was a slow, silent sail on a darkening day that emphasized how sorry a ship and crew we were. We had been at sea for more than 90 days with partner carriers attacks and bombardments against the Japanese home islands. When the 2 atomic bombs were dropped, the pace at sea had picked up considerably. There was no time to scrape and paint, carry out routine ship's maintenance. It was a time, believe it or not, food was uppermost in our minds. For the final 2 weeks prior to entering Tokyo Bay and reduced us to coffee and pancakes 3 times a day. Food.
July 20th, a reunion. So my wife and his wife were all going to Paris Island to watch the graduation. David might be there, so right, David? That'd be cool. Yeah. So,
oh yeah, tell me about your Purple Heart.
Purple Heart, yeah. Well, when I was in Quezon, and we were taking incoming all day long, and these rockets and artillery were dropping in from the north. They're sending way over. They're dropping all day long. We were in bunkers all the time. So finally, the sun was out. It wasn't raining. We all came out. We were just kind of hanging out. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear a whistle. And then, boom. They start dropping. They walk them in. Boom, 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 boom. We're running like crazy. And just before I got into my bunker, got me, threw me in, knocked me unconscious, and I had shrapnel all down my back, in my neck, my arm. And matter of fact, I belong to this. I'm going to reunion again. Matter of fact, May 30th in North Carolina, and one of the guys there is a historian. He has all the facts of my company. My company saw a lot of combat. Every day something's going on. I mean, like in World War II, when they went to a city, they took it, and then maybe they didn't do nothing for a month or so. We were out there every day. Something was going to drop, something was going to shoot. Snipers. You walk in, ding, a sniper hits you here, hits there. I got another little story. There was on top of the hilltop one time. We were setting, we just got done humping. They go humping, and he's up and down the mountains all day. And my lieutenant called me up to his foxhole, and he's in the middle of the hill, and the rest of us all out front. And he's way down in his foxhole, and the staff sergeant way down in the foxhole, and they're shooting, snipers are shooting at us. And he didn't tell me in the foxhole, so I come up, I'm kneeling in the foxhole, and he says, a sniper in a tree there, Paul. He says, bring your M79 man. M79 looked like a little shotgun, sawed-off shotgun, with a barrel about this big, the shell about this big. And he says, bring your M79, so bring him up. His name is Poole. I go, Poole, come on up here. Put a couple rounds in that tree, knock that sniper out. So Poole, he gets down on the knee, and instead of him projecting it to the tree, he had it shoot straight up and down. So he starts dropping them down on us, and we're thinking more incomings coming at us. So the lieutenant says, Paul, it's Poole, you shoot him wrong. So I run over to Poole, and I told this story at the wall. I was at the wall, and I was telling the story to another guy, because I was looking up Poole's name. And somebody in the back tells me, says, my name's Poole. I said, oh boy. Well, it wasn't the same Poole, though. So I walk up to him, I kicked him down, and I took the M79 out, The lieutenant says, Paul, you get them. So I threw a couple rounds of the tree and I knocked them out. Got them out of the tree. Everybody made out. They got them immediately dead. So anyway, so Paul died next day, and his name was on the wall. I looked him up when I was there last time I was there. Then I was in another operation called LZ Moon. I think you guys want to read a book for homework, for college, or anything. A good book to read me. It's called LZ Moon, The Marine Story by Jack McLean. Jack McLean, I found out he wrote this book all about my unit. It's a very interesting book. It tells everything that I did, that you did. He got there the same day I got there, November of 1967, and he left December of 1968, same time I did. Find out the guy's name is, his birthday is same as my birthday, which is this Friday. And I also found out that he was from New Jersey, and he was before he came back to Vietnam, he was accepted to Harvard, and he went to Harvard eventually, and he's in business now. And he writes books now. So that book, I mean, if you want to read something, that's a good book to read. So,
softball, we worked in a tractor trailer. That was our communication station. It was between a mountain and a 3-mile stretch of land and the AG&C. The reason we were in tractor trailers, the Turkish people and the Greeks didn't get along good, so they were afraid if they had to bomb the base, we could disassemble this and go anywhere within 24 hours. That's where we worked. Everybody had spit shine shoes. And we had nothing. You could grow your hair long. Went to work in jeans. Worked in these. It was a big communication center. There was a multitude of things you could do. It was really pretty amazing. Another good part is they called it an autobahn system. They had a communication system wherever you lived in the United States. I lived in New Jersey near Morris Plains, and I could call all the way to Morris Plains from Greece and only be charged from Morris Plains to my mother's house. I got the call for an hour for like under $5, you know. So it was good for my parents to hear me, but that was good. It was well worth being there. It was a definite change in my life because I didn't have any guidance. I knew I wanted to go to school, but we had no. There wasn't any money to go. So somebody told me if you go in the service and you put some time in and you come out, they'll pay for you to go to school. And it was important to me to get an education, and I did it the hard way. I didn't start school until I was 24. I did two-year degree at Union College. It took me 6 years to get because I was working full time. Then I took a year and a half off. And, I went to Seton Hall for the last 2 years, and it took me, God bless you, man. It took me 2.5 years to finish that. And a guy that pushed me to go to school, I worked at this company called Fisher Scientific, just in the labor force, and finally worked up my way to management. But he used to work there part-time in the summer. He said, Rod, I said, I know you think you're making money here, but you see Walter over there. Walter was there 40 years, and he was making $2,000 a year more than me. He said, you got to go to school. And, that's all the incentive I needed. I'm glad I did. But 10 years later, I finally graduated. Forrest Gump said, I'm not a smart man. But finally did it, and I was glad. Came out with honors, and this guy that, mind you, 10 years of my life passed by, and I went to the police department. I worked there for 5 years, and then it wasn't my cup of tea, and then I switched over to the fire department, both in the township of Union, New Jersey, and I put 24 years there. And I retired in 2006 for 28 and a half years. Loved it, you know. I have a son now. I was the third generation. All my uncles were firemen in North. My son is a fireman up in North Hudson. But that guy that pushed me to go, he wanted me to go to law school, and he said he'd pay for me to go, all expenses paid. And I wish I went to college right out of high school, so maybe I would have done it. But at that time, we had 4 kids. My wife looked at me and said, it took you 10 years to get a 4-year degree. You got to be home now. And plus, I was working full-time, 2, 3 jobs, you know. And so I'm glad. glad I didn't go, because once I became a fireman, I can't explain it. 6 months into the job, I knew that was going to be my career. So my degree was in criminal justice. And, you know, your teachers might agree with me on this. You know, so what did you get out of college? And, you know, did it make you a better person? I said, yeah, in a way. But mind you, I went from the police to fire, and I was able to move up in rank, not knowing anything about the fire. But what college taught me was the discipline of going, like, how to take unknowns and make them. You know, they taught you how to research. I could change although I went from a law degree and I went into the firehouse, I was able to just concentrate and read the books and move up in rank that way, you know. I had those kids right out of the chute. I'm telling you, you're going to college, don't waste no time, you know, and all 4 of mine went right out of high school and they all got good jobs. One's a nurse, one's a fireman, and 2 are project managers for a company called International Electronics Engineers, IEEE, out of Piscataway. But, you know, you say, I could think of how fast time went. So you say, oh, 4 years of college, that'll breeze by, you know? Any athletes in here? No? I know you, yeah. He knows my spiel from the other course, but sometimes even just the discipline of going to school, no matter you become a school teacher, fireman, corporate executive, all that stuff that you taught and learned just by going there, dependability, desire, determination, that's going to carry you through your whole life, you know, whatever field you choose. So, with me, the service was good, and you know, some years I don't know, like finances, but there couldn't have been too many people more poor than what we were, but there was a way. There was always a way to find if you want an education, how to get it. I want the alternate route. I'm glad I did it that way. It's good. Any questions? No? Anybody thinking of the military or no? It's a little different now. I'll tell you, whoever it was, go to the Navy. It's a cleaner one of the 2. So much going on. Any nurses in here that want to be nurses? No? Oh, yeah? My daughter's a nurse. Where you want to go to school?
I'm going to go to Sussex County.
Sussex, very good. Mine went to Morris County. Then she came out. They let you be a nurse back then. She's 35 now, but you could be a nurse, saying it, provided you get your 4-year degree. So she already had her 2-year, but then they paid for her to go to St. Elizabeth's College at the county price. St. Elizabeth's 4-year. She got her 4-year degree. It's a really good field. You know, she did that 7 years as a nurse, a floor nurse. It's a field she's in now, I don't even know what it is. It's called informatics. Also has to do with computerized field in the hospital field. So it's a 9-to-5 job, but it pays a lot more money. And being a nurse is tough, you know. Changing shifts. They're so short, you might have 6, 8 people to take care of at night. That's a lot, you know. The rest are what? Corporate business? What are you going to major in school? You know yet? Not really, right? Oh, yeah? Well, I'm only smiling because two good stories of that. When 9/11 hit, my cousin was studying to be an actor in New York. He just enlisted in the service, and he had a kind of a rough tour. We went to this place called Abu Ghraib.
So somebody said, what's Memorial Day? Well, Memorial Day is remembering of those who have died for their country. And if you don't know anything about someone who died, ask a Gold Star Memorial.